This is part one of a two-part podcast.
Hey, this is T. Blankenship. Have you seen the new video of Wheaton Labs? It is permaculture awesomeness with all new and improved things like more rocket mass heaters, easy bake coffin, Willy Wonka, rocket cooktop 2.0, and the truly passive greenhouse. To see more, go to permies.com/tour. Again, that is permies.com/tour.
All right, it's going. All right, so Stephen.
Hello, Paul.
So we have cats here, and it does seem like we've had a couple of times when we've had like a dozen cats. I think right now it's like 3 or 4.
Yeah, there are 4 regulars, but then there's also Choco, who's a rambling man. So he would be the 5th, I would say.
I like the name the neighbors gave him of Bearcat. I was like, because I was visiting with one of the neighbors, and he said, "You know that cat?" And he points over there, and it's like, oh yeah, he was born here like years ago, and he said we call him Bearcat because one day my grandchildren came to me and said, "There's a bear in the yard," and we went out to look, and it was this cat.
Yeah, that's right.
He's a big ass cat.
Yeah. He has no neck. It just goes. It's from the bottom of his ears right to his shoulders, and that's Choco. So shout out to Choco, or Chonks, as some may recognize him,
or Bearcat.
Bearcat, like the neighbors and their nieces and nephews and grandkids and stuff. Yeah.
He still likes to be pet, but if you pet him, it feels weird. It's like
well, because his head is. I mean, I think his neck is so thick is because it's riddled with scar tissue from being in so many fights, and his face is kind of jacked up too. So yeah. I mean, but that comes with the territory. I mean, who knows how far he ranges and what he's had to face off with to stay alive this long.
So I know that there's some, you said let's record the podcast, and I really have no idea what it is you want to say.
Okay.
But I want to start by saying these are feral cats. We have never gone to the cat store to pick up Mr. Fluffykins, or I want to say Princess Donut, because I've been listening to an audiobook with a cat named Princess Donut. But so nothing like that. These are just feral cats. Mm-hmm. They're on their own, and we do put food out for them, but it's not to feed them.
I can explain the whole food thing. I did this for several years in a row here. Now Esteban has taken over that task for the time being. So we want the cats to stick around, and we want them to show up consistently, and again, these are feral cats, but they have a job to do. And so we want to encourage at least a few of them to stick around. Yeah. So the idea is that we will bring out some cat food for them, and we'll say the magic words, which is kitty, 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 kitty. I don't want to say it too loud because Paul's window's open, and they'll come scrambling to the patio if they hear it. But you say the magic words, and then they will know to come to you when they start hearing those words. Yeah. So that's one thing. We want them to be able to come to us if they're unsafe, or if they make their way into a building, for example, which we don't allow the cats to go into buildings. And we want to make sure that they know that there is a default, sustenance level of food somewhere for them.
Well, I wouldn't call it sustenance. I would call it bait.
Okay. All right. I mean, it's not like they're going to be sitting there and being able to pick at it a little bit, come back a couple hours later and pick at it a little bit. The point is that there's just enough food for them to run up and gobble it down before their siblings and extended family eat all the rest of it before they do.
Right. And we want it to be all gone in 1 minute. It's more like a treat than feeding them. We're not trying to feed them. We're trying to entice. We want 3 to stick around. And the reason is, when we first built these hugelkulturs and started growing stuff on them, for the first year, we couldn't grow anything on them. There was like 500 chipmunks eating all of our food before we could. And every time you'd come out the door, they'd all get scared and run. And it looked like a seething mound of life. It was creepy. And then one day, I think the following winter, in fact, it was Bill Krim, the guy who set us up with the Crimson and Crim cycle.
Yeah.
He sent us the weirdest Amazon gift card. And it said something like, "It's for puppies and kittens and joy, not for world domination." He also sent a bigger one for world domination. Don't But thank you, Bill.
Some of that was earmarked for.
We were struggling to think, like, what do you spend this on? And so, but Jocelyn had seen cat footprints in the snow. And so she decided to get a heated water bowl, a heated stainless steel water bowl, and put it out there and keep water in it. And then she started putting out little bits of salmon here and there. And then within a few months, she finally got, like, within a few weeks, we saw the cat. Like, there it goes. And then within a few months, she and the cat had become besties. And in fact, when Jocelyn was not outside, that cat would go up to the windows on the house and sit there and cry for Jocelyn. But nobody else would do. I'd go out and be like, "I'll pet you. Get away from me. You're not Jocelyn. Who the fuck do you think you are? Don't touch me.
You smell funny. I don't want you near me.
Yeah.
You smell like danger."
The rest of us were just wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And so, anyway, we get the cats come and go. We don't know what their deal is. Once in a while, we'll find one where it's like there was one last year that got into it with chonks. Like there were the two males, and this one was the smaller male, and it was like, dude, don't take on chonks. But he wouldn't listen to us. They just had to get into it.
He had to learn the lesson.
And so we did find his body, and you took care of him. Thank you, Stephen, for But
I'll get into the creepier aspects of cats later on. But and that's one of them. That's part of it. Sure.
We've had some people here who got upset with how we cared for the cats, and it's kind of like, the cats care for themselves. We're just trying to keep them close enough so that we can grow a garden. And it did seem like after Jocelyn charmed that one cat, our chipmunk problem was gone overnight.
Oh my gosh.
We never saw a chipmunk on the hugelkulturs again. And so and I see all the cats with a rodent every once in a while. Mm-hmm. And about once every 3 months, I'll see one of them caught a bird. But at the same time, I kind of feel like we have birds, like, I don't know, 80,000 or so.
Let me jump on my soapbox here about this topic specifically. Okay. A lot of people say, I can't have... Okay, I have to preface this by saying, hey, we are in a rural part of Montana, western Montana, and your mileage may vary. But I will say that you can have a thriving garden, and you can have a thriving bird population specifically, even with cats that live all the time, live outdoors all the time. That's exactly what we have here. So a lot of people are saying, I can't keep cats around. They're going to eat all the songbirds. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. So I'll say that our experience has been very different from that. I will also say that a friend of mine in Arizona she lives on like the west side of Arizona. For several years, she was very resistant to bringing cats in, and it just so happens that and her argument was that it's we have a protected species of birds here, or this is a bird sanctuary. I can't have cats around, and it turned out that she couldn't grow any vegetables because the rodents would come in and eat everything. So this year was the first year. I visited her last time I visited her was in February, and this was the first growing season that she's had with cats on the property. Birds are fine. Birds are fine, and her garden is now growing because she has cats patrolling the grounds. Now, I think that personally she feeds her cats, there are 2 cats over there. I think she feeds her cats more than we do, more than we feed our cats. But the end result is the same. The cats are going to want to go out, and they're going to go after rodents. And I will put a hypothesis out there and say that a cat is a lazy animal, and it's going to go after the stuff that's on the ground first before it even considers going after stuff that flies. And my theory is that cats are lazy, and therefore they go after mice so much more than they would go after birds, that if you're concerned about birds, don't worry about it. So long as you have a solid rodent population, then your birds are not going to be in danger. That's my position on the cat population at gardens versus birds thing.
Yeah, I know that the cats will get a bird once in a while, but it's pretty unusual.
Oh, but for every bird they take out, they're going to take down 12 mice, rodents, voles, ground squirrels. I would say that is so much more frequent. Based on what I've seen, you're going to see bits and pieces of mice or, mice carcasses out there, at a factor of 5 or 6 more than you would see parts of a bird.
I would say it would be closer to 40 to 1, but okay. I mean,
hey, I'm comfortable being on the conservative side on that. Sure.
Yeah. So we've had people that got upset that we're not spaying and neutering these animals, and it's like, I think that they're thinking about people in cities with cats, and what we do is we just, every once in a while there's a batch of kittens. Like once a year there's at least one batch of kittens, and I think that's a beautiful, delightful, wonderful thing. It's like this year Black Spark has kittens down there by the Willow Bank. I think she's got them under Willow Bank, so well away from the house, and they're all very feral. They're scared to death of all of us.
Yeah.
Now, I do think that a couple of the cats that we have here now are from Black Spark last year, and they started off feral, and then they chilled out.
Yeah.
And so, but let's see, we've got like, I think 3. There's Felix, who needs 3 years of therapy. Poor Felix.
He wants to be pet all the time. He's a long-haired gray and white cat.
He's scared to death of everything and everybody. He's scared of you, but he desperately needs you to pet him.
But he's like, come here, please.
Come here. And then he's scared. He's like, boy, that poor cat needs real therapy.
Yeah.
But I also think that cat's going to live a long time because he's so scared of everything. Poor Felix. He's got all these dilemmas going on inside of him.
So there's Felix, the long-haired gray and white one. There is a short-haired black and white one we call Sparky because he looks a lot like his mother.
No, it's Grandma.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he came from Rose.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, shows how much I know. I guess I should have.
So Rose is a cat that was here last year.
Yeah.
Rose was here for a while this year and then disappeared.
Rose the nose. So she became pregnant and then she wandered off. So
right.
She had her litter somewhere else. We don't know. Haven't seen her since.
She comes back. She'll disappear for 4 to 6 months at a time and then come back.
Yeah, we might see her again this autumn.
Yeah.
Or maybe she found greener pastures and like Chonks visits her to make more babies somewhere else. And she's like, I didn't feel like hanging around my mother, Black Spark, anymore. So she found greener pastures. Who knows? We don't know.
So I don't count Black Spark as one of the 3 cats that are here because we hardly ever see her. I see her like once every 3 or 4 days, but over by Willow Bank.
She's feeding herself. She doesn't really need our food,
Right.
So she is doing just fine.
If she's ever here when the food is coming out, she kind of looks at the cats that are eating like, You guys disgust me. You should feed yourselves, not eat those kitty beans. What's wrong with you?
What's the phrase? It gets better. You know? So once those cats, so we talked about two of the young ones that stick around right now. Yeah. Like as soon as they get old enough, and it's 3 little boys is what it is, and they're going to be either butting heads with one another, or Chonks is going to put them in line, or Chonks is going to disappear, and one of them's going to step up like G-Dog did last year, and be the alpha cat. Right. Again, another topic for the weird, creepy stuff.
Little dramas.
Right. So we've got Felix, we have Sparky, and then we have my personal current favorite. I call him War Duke. And he's a solid gray cat with a black nose and really mean eyes, and again, a little boy. And
he's going to be a big boy. Yeah,
I think so. I mean, he looks a lot like G-Dog, or those of you who've been around, maybe you heard the name Mr. G, or maybe you heard the name Gandalf. So Gandalf, the guy I call G-Dog, he was the alpha cat around here for a while. He and Choco butted heads a lot, but Choco was like, F this, man. I've got other places I could go. So G-Dog basically held the fort here, and he sired a lot of the cats, and that's pretty obvious. So we have 3 boys here. We occasionally have Cuddle Gink, who's a little girl, and right now she's expecting. So she'll have a handful of kittens eventually. She certainly looks like she'll have a handful of kittens.
She's a terrible mother.
So far. Hey, well, you know what? She's also really young. Like I don't think she's even a year old, and then some of the guys knocked her up. I mean, it was. Like, what was she supposed to do? You know, So, I mean, and she's one of the ones who was really socialized with us, really liked to hang around. So, of course, any male who is around here is going to pick up on her scent and be like, yeah, let's go for it. And she was one of the victims. It just turns out that she's so young as well. And I think it was way too early for her.
I think 4 or 5 days ago, we saw a scaredy cat.
Yeah.
Like, look over there. It's scaredy cat.
Another gray and white short-haired one.
Yeah.
And it kind of reminds me of the one that everybody called Doorstop.
Oh, Doorstop was great.
So Doorstop was another short-haired gray and white cat, and he was around for about 1.5 years, almost 2 years.
Doorstop loved to be held for 11 seconds. He's like, can you pick me up and hold me? And then you can kind of count to 11, and then he's like, okay, now put me down.
I'm done.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah. Thanks for that. And then he lived at the front door. Mm-hmm. Yeah. He sat on the threshold all the time.
I have a feeling like the threshold of a house, especially in the wintertime, it's probably a lot warmer than the porch, warmer than a couple other places where cats might be able to hang out. And one of the nearest cat house that we had, I think that G-Dog basically ruled that one. And if there were other boys around, he was like, get out of here. This is my spot. Yeah. So he didn't want to share it with any other males that were around. And I think that Doorstop was approaching that mature adult age that he would be competing with G-Dog. So
I gotta say that what I hope that we're doing is breeding an excellent homestead or barn cat. And so if any of the cats do not do well with coyotes or mountain lions or car tires or any of that kind of stuff, they're not going to be breeding. And so the genetic materials that we're getting are really good at being able to hunt, really good at being able to avoid predators.
Yeah, they got a good spider sense going on.
Yeah, and it is in a way it is kind of a dark thing, because the boys fight, and then I don't think the girls fight, but the girls, they've got to go and protect their kittens. There was one that just did a terrible job of where she decided to put her kittens, and I think none of them made it.
So there's the brush pile in the backyard. Is that what you're talking about?
Oh, that was a different one. Whatever happened to those cats? Didn't we?
So they were adopted out.
Yeah.
There were two that made it Like once we like took them in, there were a couple folks who were here for a short time. I can't recall if they were woofers.
Yeah, woofers. There was 2 woofer gals, and they took them to someplace far away.
Yeah, so they adopted 2, and I think those were 2 out of maybe the 4 that were back there.
But without their mom, it looked like they weren't going to make it.
It was it's rough. And again, if you have a mother who was made pregnant at a very young age, I don't think there are things that have kicked in just yet in terms of instinct or nurturing or that nurturing sense. So very often a cat's going to walk away from the babies they just put out there.
They'll drop kittens and then go.
Be like, yeah, I'm gone.
Carl did that. I don't know if Carl's ever raised any. So there's a cat we called Carl. It turned out to be female. And then Carl would just drop kittens in the middle of the trail or whatever and leave them.
Yep.
And you'd find these little tiny screaming. Oh wait, we got to tell the Batman story.
Yeah, go. Okay. And another female with a potentially male name.
Yeah,
is Batman.
So we had a cat.
Hey, by the way, for all these cats who were females that turned out to be that were named male names, thanks, Des.
But Batman looks like Batman.
Sure.
Batman. First of all, Batman looks really broody, really like angry, broody, and pissed all the time.
Long-haired black and white cat with yellow eyes. Yeah.
And has the Batman mask.
Mm-hmm.
And so Batman is the perfect Batman. It looked like Batman.
Batman of the cat world.
So one day I'm sitting in my office and I can hear this teeny tiny mewing out my office window. And so I go out to look at it, and sure enough, there is a freshly born slimy kitten thing that's about a minute old. And there's a slime trail going from that to Batman, and Batman's looking at me and looking at that thing like, what the fuck is that? Did that just come out of my ass?
It's like, did you do this? Wait, what? Who put that there?
Is that like a squirmy turd? Is that some sort of parasite? What the fuck is that?
I think the bottom line is, wow, that never happened to me before.
Yeah, this is new. And so I put Batman into the cat house along with the little slimy kitten, and then Batman had, I think, 3 more. Yeah,
it was a total of 4 for that litter, and I wanted to name them after the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but somebody else had named them before I had a chance.
But Batman turned out to be a really great mom.
Yep, she was great. Yeah, Raz was part of that crew. I think the one who was named Raz.
Okay.
So Batman and Raz ended up being moved over to Allerton Abbey, that coming winter, I think it was.
Put Paul's brain on your plot. Do you have a hunk of land but don't know where to start? Do you have a world-changing permaculture idea and you need some feedback? Do you feel like the guy in overalls may inexplicably hold the keys to all your wildest permaculture and homesteading dreams? Well, you're probably wrong. But if you want to give it a go anyway, you can hire Paul for a consultation. He will be all yours for a whole entire hour. Schedule your Paulversation today at permies.com/consult. permies.com/consult.
I think the important thing is that cats come and go, and that's just the system that we have. And this is feral cats doing the feral cat thing, and we just want them to be around enough to be able to control our rodents. I would say 2 out of 3 of them will tolerate being pet once in a while, and the rest of them are like, get away from me. And it's like, nope, that's the feral cat way. And then, of course, you have cats like Felix that are kind of like both. And they're struggling to live with this dichotomy.
I'm not going to say he's like schizophrenic or there's something wrong with him, but I think that is the tension that an animal that spends most of its time outdoors is experiencing, Right. And it's constantly on the lookout for things bigger than it, and humans are most likely bigger than it. And at the same time, they realized, wow, I kind of feel safe around these fleshy bipeds that are walking by and giving me food every once in a while. How should I feel about them? And so cats are creepy. And this, that's like,
All right.
That's like my life motto is like, cats are creepy. And I don't want to go too far into this, but I really do as well.
Okay.
Okay. All right. And I have to recount this story about my favorite cat I've met here. I'll do my best to keep it quick. Her name, do you need me to hold this? Or
No.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Good.
All right.
Good.
Okay. Donkey.
Yeah.
I miss you, and I think about you almost every day.
Donkey was fucking evil.
I thought Donkey was perfect in every way.
Donkey hated everybody except you.
Beautiful cat, super friendly. I had to start wearing socks around her because she would lick my toes, which is a super creepy thing, but that's what cats will do. And anyhow, Donkey and I had two situations where I think she and I bonded. The first one was when she was still quite young, and there was a sudden rainstorm that popped up. So it was maybe around this time of the year, like end of June going into July. And there was a sudden rainstorm, and it was close to the end of the boot day anyway. And so I was moving around, like cleaning up tools and stuff like that. And then I noticed one of the cats was like under the bottom step of the porch, just laying there, and the rain it's really pissing down, and I'm like, what in the world's going on with this cat? And so it looked like she had been like paralyzed on one half of her body, and her tongue was sticking out, and all sorts of weird stuff. And I remember picking her up, and at the time we had a little shelter in the back of the library, and I brought her back there, and I brought a towel out, and I think some of her siblings were also concerned for her, and they came over and they were grooming her, they were licking her, cleaning off the rain and everything. But I had a towel, and I dried her off, and I set her in there, and the next day she was gone. The towel was there, but she was gone. And I was like, oh, somebody must have found her, and maybe she died overnight. But no, she came back later on that morning and came out for breakfast. And I think she remembered me from that moment. But also, speaking of feeding, this was the other bonding experience that she and I had that I want to mention. And so I would feed the cats every morning, and I brought out dishes of food with me, and so I would always have it was 3 dishes, that we would give, because at that time we had a number of cats, over 10, and I would hold 2 dishes in one hand while I'd set the other one down on the ground. Well, Donkey must have been observing me doing this, because the hand that was holding the 2 dishes was a bit too close to the ground. And so as I was laying the 1 dish on the ground, she basically leapt up or leapt up and basically slashed my hand with the 2 plates in it, the 2 other plates. So she wanted to get a stab at the bigger plates of food first, and instead she stabbed me. So I ended up dropping the dishes on the floor. I grabbed her on the ground. I grabbed her by all 4 legs in my 2 hands, and I was like, "Fuck you!" And I threw her up the hill. And so this cat is flying through the air, and she's her paws are splayed out, and then she lands and then runs back down and eats food anyway. And then I was bleeding from my hand and all sorts of crazy stuff. And and it was this was after she and I had that little bonding moment where I rescued her from under the steps. And so it was a space of 2 or 3 days where we didn't speak, I was like, "Get away from me." And she didn't want to come near me. But then eventually she came up to my tent. And I was like, all right, well, if you can figure out how to walk in here, if you can figure out how to crawl in, then you can join me in here. And so after that point, we both had an understanding, and she's my favorite cat that I've met here. ever since. And like I said, I miss her every day.
Didn't you end up with like 5 cats coming up to your tent every night and having cat fights?
I might have mentioned this in a previous podcast, but yeah, I'll have in the colder months, cats will come up to the tent, and since they can walk in if they want, I'll have cats that jump in the blankets with me. And for those of you who also live, in a rural area and you like cats, this is an excellent overnight warming strategy. Because if you don't know, cats have a higher body temperature than humans do. And I don't know why cats think this is a good idea, other than the fact that they might feel safe. Because I'm basically just stealing their warmth all night long. But anyhow, I can fit, in my sleeping bag, I was able to fit up to 4 cats at once without them jumping on each other and trying to kill each other. They would all find their own spots. Donkey would always be in my right armpit. That was her spot. Yeah. And then you'd have a cat maybe sitting on your chest, and another one under your other arm, and another one down by your like where your knees are. And anyhow, they would all find some sort of in the sleeping bag, in the wool blankets equilibrium, and then we'd wake. This is the best thing about it. You wake up in the morning. My alarm clock would go off, and as I reach over to turn it off, like as I stir, the cats would wake up, and they would immediately start purring, and it was just the most wonderful way to wake up in the world. Is like to be surrounded instantly by purring cats. Okay. So. But yeah, I wanted to talk about Donkey real quick and how I had a chance to bond with her while she was here, and that was great. And then we were talking about feeding, and I do want to talk about some of the weird stuff I've picked up about cats while I've been here. Now as a disclaimer, I've lived with cats almost my entire life. I'll be 50 next year. And I've lived with cats nearly every single year of my life during that time, and I think cats are pretty remarkable animals. And at the same time, since I've been here and I've had a chance to see more of the feral side of cats, I've noticed a few strange things about them. And this is the one thing I told you before this that I maybe wanted to touch on some dark topics, because a lot of this stuff really isn't. I don't know. It's not the stuff you hear from the pet store, or it's not the stuff you hear from the veterinarian. So those of you who've never kept barn cats or never had a chance to keep cats at all, or if you only had cats when you were a child and your parents took care of most of this shit, then you're not going to be able to hear about it. So cats will die unexpectedly, and you will find them laying around. I've buried a lot of cats in my time here, because cats end up eating weird things, or maybe they have some kind of sickness that we don't know about. Maybe they got in a bad fight and they just had some kind of internal injury, and their body finally gave up on them. So yeah, there's a lot. I think you've said this before, Paul, and in a place where there is an abundance of life, there's going to be an abundance of its opposite as well, or at least some measure of its opposite. Something like that.
It's math.
Yeah. And there's only so much room for cats to get around and cohabitate. Another interesting thing about cats is they are very territorial. Now we talked a little bit about how the males will fight one another, and they sort of there's going to be an alpha cat, and that alpha cat basically calls the shots, gets the first chance to breed with the females, and basically wants to scare away all the males that are subservient or fearful of it. So you're going to have, if you have more than one male cat around and they're not neutered, then you're going to have those cats fighting one another, especially when they can start smelling that the ladies are in heat. So if you're around a lot of cats that aren't spayed, that aren't neutered, you're going to have a lot of this dominance behavior, and it's all around breeding. It seems to be. Again, I'm not a veterinarian or a zoologist or whatnot, but these are things I've observed. So there's always going to be one male who wants to be in charge of all the females that stick around, and And, like Choco, for example, he's a rambling man. He will show up, once every couple months and say, hey, who smells good? Who's ready to make more babies? All right, I'll hang out with you for a while. And then I'll be calling out. And I'm like, hey, I'm right here, ladies. I'm right here. And I'll go ahead and make some more babies with you. Just say the word and I'm down. And then as soon as that's all sorted out, he's gone again. So so you're gonna have males fighting one another. Females tend to only fight with one another about food. That's so like that. So over at the lab, for example, we have a cat. Her name is Early, and she's like the matron over there. She's like the mama who's in charge. All the guys basically have gone elsewhere, and then but guys will show up. Once every couple months, and do the breeding thing. But Early will always be first in line to eat food, and then she will bat and she will smack and she will hiss and knock even adolescents out of the way, even like her own kids. She's like, I'm hungry, get out of the way, and whack, and she'll smack them. So males, will fight over breeding rights. Females seem to fight over food. These are all like survival related behaviors, in my opinion. Like the males want to push their genetics, and then the females want to be able to breed. And this all makes sense in my head, and that's why I'm describing it in such a way.
I feel like I've got 15 more stories about weird cat things, but
yeah, I'm sorry.
But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna skip over all of those and go directly to, like, I think 2 or 3 times we've had people here, and remember Banjo?
Oh, of course.
Banjo wanted everybody to see her kittens. And she was very proud of kittens. She wanted them to be here where everybody could see them. She kept them under that front step, under the front door. Mm-hmm. And she wanted everybody to look at them, everybody to pet them, everybody to be proud of her. But she was a tiny kitty. And as those kittens nursed, she just kept getting tinier. And the kittens never really grew right. They all looked kind of weird and wrong. And then one day, Banjo just wasn't there anymore. Yeah. Banjo was just gone. Yeah. And the kittens were hungry, and so they came out with their weird misshapen bodies with the giant heads, and they could barely move around. And we had a couple of boots here. No, wait, I think they were seppers. And they wanted.
They stayed for a short time. That's right. Yeah. So they were passing through. They were here for a week, and they're like, "What's going on with these kittens?" And so they kind of freaked out about, like, they went into Missoula and they brought back kitty milk replacer and tried to nurse them with a syringe and everything, and they ended up taking like 2 of the.
Yeah, 2 of them died, and 2 of them they took into
like
somewhere.
The Humane Society in Missoula.
Something. Yeah. And basically my thought was once you start nursing them,
you better follow through with it. Yeah.
We need them to either be spayed or neutered or to be relocated. I don't want their genetics mixing in with the other genetics here.
Yeah.
Because clearly, whatever they're carrying genetics that just don't make it.
Huh.
And so they didn't say anything, but their actions were that they didn't agree with this analysis. But they did remove the cats, and so it's like cool. I'd say another thing is that with the feral cats, every once in a while we will see one that's all messed up and sickly, and something's wrong with it. And what I think we need to do is ignore them. They either make it or they don't.
Back to the story about Banjo. I remember that day. I was like, Paul, there's a cat out here who's like paralyzed on one side. And for the record, I suspect that it had been bitten by a spider. That's what I think was going on.
Okay.
So in a lot of cases, if an animal is small enough and it's bitten by that spider, that venom is going to paralyze not just one side of its body, but its vital organs, and it's not going to live. But I remember sending you a message. I was like, Paul, what are we going to do about this cat? It looks like it's going to die. Can I take it to the vet? and you were like, I think you need to let nature take its course. So that's sort of like, and that was a cat that I understood where you were coming from when you said that, and even though like later on I became a good friend of that cat, I understood why you were saying that sort of.
Banjo loved people and really, the whole thing about like, look at my kittens, everybody, aren't they beautiful? I made these. She was a very proud mama. But we have at times had people here who felt like a cat desperately needed to visit the veterinarian, and my response has been like, if you want to take the cat to the vet and pay for it, then you need to decide whether you're also going to get it spayed or neutered and you can bring it back, or you need to find it a new home. Once the cat has seen a vet, I don't want its genetics mixing in with the other cats. So and I kind of feel like a lot of the way that we take care of our feral cats kind of reminds me of how Daniel Salatin takes care of rabbits. And so rabbits have been bred to be dependent upon antibiotics in their feed. And so Daniel wanted to raise rabbits that were not dependent on the antibiotics, but he had to go through some very powerful mortality rates until he got to the point of having a breed that could live without the antibiotics.
And at this point, I think there's a lot of education that needs to happen. Like Daniel Salatin, like he understood what's going on in nature, I think. And I think a lot of people who are up in their arms about like, oh, this is inhumane treatment of animals, and et cetera, I strongly suspect that they're coming from cities. Where and it's just a different environment than out here in western Montana. I don't know where Daniel Salatin is, but I suspect it's a rural
Virginia.
area. Okay, rural Virginia, I suspect. Okay, and it is a different place than I come from Baltimore, and they've got Barks out there, Baltimore Animal Rescue and Care Shelter. And they do like that roving, like a mobile spay unit or whatever, the mobile spay and neuter unit that travels through and tries to find feral cats and feral colonies, and they'll bring in all the animals and they'll spend the day neutering and spaying all the animals that are out there. That, I think, in a city environment where you have a lot less natural predators, you have a lot, like it's just a completely different place than what's going on out here. I think a lot of that mentality of the needing the mobile spay and neuter unit and so on, I think that is a symptom of city life. And I think that if people bring that city life perspective and attitude to a rural area, which is, trust me, it is really different, then they're going to have that disconnect. I think a lot of the folks who have been really up in arms about your particular philosophy on caring for animals, they come from a city environment. They come from an urban environment where all the animals are from pet stores, where, like all the feral cats are going to be rounded up by, a spay and neuter thing on the weekends or whatever.
Well, I think another thing is a lot of cities, I don't know how many times, it's probably pushing a dozen times where I met somebody that had an animal and they took it to a no-kill shelter, only to find out that a week later the no-kill shelter killed the animal. And it's like, well, wait a minute, you guys told me it was no-kill. Oh yeah, we say that, but really what we want is to kill them.
So, I understand that it's like an anecdotal kind of thing, and I can't speak to that myself, but I think the reality behind that, or if you want to go into like more nuanced detail, is that no, we don't want to, it's not that we want to kill them, it's that we need people to foster them, we need people to adopt them, and there's nobody out there who wants to foster them, there's nobody out there who wants to adopt them, because they think that these animals that are from the streets or whatever, they think these animals are freaks, or they're broken, or there's something wrong with them, and so they're going to go to a pet store and find it. When they want to adopt an animal, they'll go ahead and pick up a dog or cat or another type of animal from a pet store instead.
I kind of feel like the wording they use is we never kill any of these animals except when we do.
Sure. I'm not going to argue with that because I don't know all the details of what you're talking about.
No, it sounds really crazy to me. I don't understand it, and there's all kinds of stuff. And then, of course, when the people dropped them off at a no-kill shelter, it's like, and I had to drop off like $200 because, it's a no-kill shelter and, blah, blah, blah. And then they went back a week later to kind of like, I'm going to go, visit the cat. And it's like, oh, yeah, I know, you put that cat down. That cat's not, you can't see that cat because it's, and it's like many times. And at the same time, I remember when I was in my 20s, I tried to go and adopt a cat from the Missoula Humane Society. And they'd rather kill the cats than let me adopt them. So I did not adopt a cat from the Humane Society. Apparently, I didn't meet their strict requirements, and it was like whatever it was.
These are all things that are outside of my experience. So I really can't comment on.
Look, okay, the bottom line is that I feel like the cats we have now are good at being squirrely, like avoiding the dangers that cats have, and they've got a good, strong genetics for fighting off whatever illness gets to cats. For the most part.
Yeah.
And I think that in a few more generations they'll be even stronger and healthier still. I think that there have been cats that like Banjo didn't make it. Banjo was just, I don't know, a skinny cat, and like that doesn't work. And so Banjo and all of Banjo's genetics are not here anymore. Mm-hmm. Banjo is a very pretty kitty, but. The bottom line is like I kind of feel like the psychosis with Felix is what is the genetics that's needed. Like scared of everything.
But still likes people. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Scared of people, but likes people.
Yeah.
Scared of people, but and it's like in the way that you pet Felix is a weird ritual. You have to say Felix over and over and over again, and then he'll get within 4 feet, and then you got to come to a complete stop, crouch down, and then he'll...
I think that's totally reasonable for a cat to do, especially cats who are young and who are of that particular size. They're not big, and we are so huge in comparison to those cats. So I'm happy that a cat is wary of humans. I think that's smart. Yeah. But again, I mean that's a reflection of their genetics as well. Whether that, is that an instinctual thing? I think it is. Yeah. Just being afraid of large moving things.
Well, which is kind of how we started with the whole kitty thing, is because there were a couple of times I went to go get the mail, and we're down there by the county road, and the cats are just standing out in the road, and I'm like, get the fuck out of the road, you stupid! And I'm trying to entice the cat to get out of the road, and the cat's like, you're not the boss of me.
Yeah. Like, I'll get out when I'm good and ready, thanks.
But now when a car's coming and the cat's standing out in the middle of the road, that I can go off the road and use the magic words, kitty, and the cat comes running like, okay, where's my treat? Psych.
Yeah, like, I'll pet you anyway. Yeah, that's the most you're going to get right now.
Yeah.
You'll thank me later.
Yeah. So it's like, but I guess in a way that cat should have been biffed by the car, but I also kind of feel like if I'm standing right there and the car hits the cat, whoever's driving the car is going to feel terrible.
Yeah, and I think it's I would want to do my due diligence at taking care of a cat that is hanging around. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and call that cat, even if it's one who doesn't like me.
Yeah.
Even if it's one who's scared all the time, even if it's one who, even if we seem to have a lot of cats, come on, it's a living thing. I'm going to go ahead and take care of that cat as best I'm able. Yeah. And, and encouraging it to avoid danger, I think, is just as important as providing it with, stay around bait food. every day, and giving it cat houses in the wintertime, and stuff like that. So I'm not gonna be like, are you gonna make it out of the road? Oh, let's see. I would never put myself in that kind of mind space where I'm like, oh yeah, maybe you're gonna make it, maybe not. And I don't think you are either. That's not what I'm trying to say. But it's like, if I saw a cat in that situation and I didn't want to walk out in the road and chase it off or whatever, then I would use whatever tactics I had available to encourage it to get out of the road and get out of danger, even if it didn't know if it was in danger.
This podcast is continued in part 2.
In a world on the brink of social collapse, one website stands above the rest to fight back the zombie horde of corporate trolls. Permies.com. Take back control of your destiny and protect your loved ones from the toxic gick coming at you from all directions. Strap on your overalls and start building that bunker of abundance with the good vibes and friendly, helpful insight found at Permies.com.